I'd like to call this special council meeting to order. And Angie, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Councilman Holtz.
Present.
Councilman Curry.
Here.
Councilwoman King.
Here.
Councilman Mishler.
Present.
Councilman Fish. Councilwoman Hines. Crabtree.
Here.
Councilman Hanky. President Dawson.
Present. Thank you. Angie, would you read the special notice for the meeting?
Ladies and gentlemen, you are hereby notified that in accordance with the powers vested in me by the statutes of the state of Indiana and the ordinances of the city of Elkhart, Indiana, I hereby call a special meeting of the Common Council to be held in the municipal building in the council chambers on the second floor, 229 South 2nd Street, Elkhart, Indiana, on Monday, the 29th of July, 2024 at 6 p.m. The purpose of this meeting will be to consider whether certain property owners are in substantial compliance with their previously submitted statement of benefits forms for tax abatements from the city of Elkhart and to terminate certain tax abatements within the city of Elkhart. The council would take action upon the following resolutions. Proposed Resolution 24-R-35, Proposed Resolution 24-R-36, Proposed Resolution 24-R-37, Proposed Resolution 24-R-38, Proposed Resolution 24-R-39, and Proposed Resolution 24-R-40. The clerk is hereby ordered to prepare the cause and serve each council member a certified copy of the special call in accordance with the law. Signed, Arvis L. Dawson, President, Elkhart County Council. Attested, Deborah D. Barrett, Elkhart City Clerk.
Thank you. Drew.
Good evening, Council. Drew Wines, Economic Development. Tonight, we are further considering the compliance of the 6 companies that were ruled in non-compliance on the July 10 meeting. Each of these companies did not turn in a CF1 and failed to complete their projects. If Council determines these companies are not in compliance with their statement of benefits, their phase-in will be terminated. Separate from tonight's resolutions, we would like to discuss some policy changes for our memorandum of agreement. These are detailed in the slides I handed out before the meeting. We intend to change the compliance threshold from 95 to 90%, as this is standard practice in Elkhart County. And in previous years, a 90% compliance threshold has been utilized by Council. Formal council action or a resolution are not required to initiate this change. We also plan on altering the use of the phrase Economic Revitalization Area, or ERA. The current definition identifies the period of time where a company can make real estate improvements or install equipment that are eligible for tax phase-in benefits. That is in conflict with the state of Indiana's definition. For the state, the ERA is the project location. It is the parcel or parcels eligible for phase-in benefits, and it expires the final year of a company's phase-in. We recommend changing the terminology from economic revitalization area to construction and installation phase. Lastly, we intend on adding general noncompliance as an additional reason to seek repayment. You will see these MOA changes in an upcoming tax phase-in application which will appear on Council agenda next month. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Drew? Mr. Mishler.
Thank you, Drew. Is this standard practice around the county? Is this similar language to what other communities and municipalities are changing it to?
The compliance threshold is certainly standard practice throughout the county.
I mean, regarding the change of economic revitalization area to construction and installation phase, is that something, Bristol and Goshen and Napanee and everyone else is changing to?
So that specific phrase is not being used throughout the county. However, it is the use of the phrase ERA to identify the period of time, the location, and the entirety of the phase-in is used throughout the county, and we feel that construction installation phase is a more specific better explains the the period of time in which we expect the company to make real estate improvements and install personal property.
Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure that companies that might have businesses elsewhere in the county, if they want to expand here, that it's kind of common language that we use, the EDC, the rest of the county, and things like that to try to make it as streamlined as possible for them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Hinkie?
Seems as though on one end, we're trying to circumvent law a little bit further. We're broadening the front door. So let me go back. The intention is to rename it to give those in Elkhart City a wider berth of timeline with which to fulfill their obligation of abatement. That's what it sounds like.
We are not trying to expand the timeline or change the timeline. We're just changing the terminology.
But that terminology makes it subjective. Otherwise, there's no point to changing terminology.
So our reason.
Before you go on, I want to acknowledge that Tonda Hines has joined us.
Sorry, Mike Huber, Director of Development Services, City of Elkhart. Councilman Hinkie, actually the answer to your question is currently the term ERA in our MOA, it applies to both the timeline from which the company starts its project and has time to complete its project. It also at the same time refers to the area and is also coinciding with the full length of the abatement. So what we're doing is we're defining the part of the period that we're changing the terminology to define the period within which investment can be made, because the ERA is still tied with the end of the abatement phase period. So it's not extending anything. We will still have a defined payment, a defined time period for making and completing the investment, and the ERA will still run with the end of the term of the phase. And so it's 3 years, 5 years. So that's what we're really kind of defining, is just the area within which they have to make the investment.
So for uniformity, and to Councilman Mishler's point, and we've said it a few times, Elkhart County, if you have a 3-year abatement, you have to have 50% done the first year, 75% the second year, and then you complete. If they have a 7-year, they have increments by which your percentage of investment has to be in, as opposed to getting abatement on a 5-year abatement, waiting out the 4th year and starting to make your abatement on the 5th year, and your actual real abatement starts that 5th year and runs 5 years more. It requires us not only to track it that many more years, which is more difficult, but it also says the point of the impact was to make investment today, if not this year, next year, not wait out 4 years. If you're in a 10-year abatement and you decide to start making your abatement 8 years out, right now we can't do anything about it. You're still within your window. And then we have 10 years from the point you actually put in the money. And if you put 50% in that year, that runs out 10 years. Then 50% the final year, that runs another 10 years. What a bookkeeping mess. And if they can't forecast any better, I would wonder why we
So that's not how it works. I mean, typically the part that we are amending to be the investment period is typically within 2 years of the granting of the abatement. They typically have 2 years, regardless of how long the abatement is. In fact, that allows us to do that. And the assessment, the phase-in doesn't actually start until the assessment of any investment is made. And once that starts, that triggers the first year of compliance and goes on from there. So there's not make 40% now, wait 8 years and make 40%. It starts, and that's when the clock goes.
Well,
once they're assessed.
Well, that's not our practice. So
that's our practice currently, and that's our practice going forward.
All right, because we looked at, and I can ask Mr. Espar to pipe in on this one, but if for example, someone had a 10-year abatement and they started on year 6 and put in 20%, that 20% would start at that point and run out 10 years. And the next year they put in 40%, we'd have to track that. That runs out another 10 years on its own merit. And so one would, the first 20% on its 11th year would cancel, but we still have another year to wait on the next phase. It's not as though they put in all their money before they start abatement.
So you're
It doesn't
correct.
work
There
that
can
way.
be a layered phase-in
Yeah.
assessed value. Again, we limit the construction period to 2 years. And so we're not going into the 4th year, and so, I mean, there can be a case where they make part of the investment in the first year and finish the investment in the second year. In that case, we have a layered, but we're tracking it through the entire phase. And the county is responsible for maintaining and tracking that phase.
They're
of it.
tracking, I'm just saying that we have had abatements, that we have waited until the final year before the first investment was laid out. And I realize they don't get credit because they haven't put any money in. But it's like, why did you put it in abatement? How many years early? What is your forecasting? And I don't want to make it more difficult on any of us to have them reach compliance, because if we're going from 95% to 90%, and prior to that ordinance being changed, it's still 95%. But if we open up the front to say something else which gives us any broader interpretation, I would support anything that limits the construction time. You need to be in your
That's the
second,
intent
third,
of
or
this,
fourth
right?
year.
We're renaming it
Then
the incentive
I would
period,
be
and it's a
there.
2-year window.
I
That's the way
appreciate
we
that.
practice it.
All right.
So, great.
Thank you. Any other questions? You're welcome. Seeing none, Angie, would you read proposed resolution 24-R-35 by title, please?
Proposed Resolution 24-R-35, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Elkhart, Indiana, determining that Big Dog Adhesives LLC, 435 Properties LLC, and 615 Properties LLC failed to make reasonable efforts to comply with its statement of benefits warranting the termination of the economic revitalization area and corresponding tax abatement benefits.
Okay, can I get a motion and a second to adopt this resolution?
So moved.
Got a motion by Mr. Mishler, second by Mr. Curry.
Mr. President, good evening, John Esper, Corporation Counsel. As a point of order, we have a participant who is seeking to participate. We have a member of the council who's seeking to participate remotely. We need to establish that she can hear and be heard. And I didn't hear that take place this
Okay.
evening.
With Tonda? You talking about Tonda?
Yes.
Tonda? Tonda, are you there? She has to be visible when she votes or speaks. No, wait a minute. Let me get Tonda straight before you move forward. Tonda, I know she. Pardon? Okay. I don't know. We're going to text. Where's your point, David?
Another point of order for Mr. Esper, since these resolutions came from John's office, I'm not sure that we have a finding of adopting. I thought these were hearings because they're already found to be non-compliant. We can change our basis based on these presentations, right? Because they were already found not in compliance.
You made a preliminary determination of noncompliance. Statutorily, we are obligated, the council is obligated to afford
Hearing.
the business the opportunity to come before it and provide additional information that may either alter your prior determination or validate it, in which case you would confirm your prior
Well, if we
determination.
take no action, the prior is already affirmed.
Now, that's not
Take
the
no
way,
action to change it.
that's certainly logical, but that's not how the statute reads. Okay.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak with regards to this resolution? So step forward, state your name.
My name is Lou Giovannini, and I own Big Dog Adhesives. And I'm a small businessman. I started in 2017, small little building right across from Napa Auto Parts there. And in 2021, I bought the vacant building, been vacant for 2 years, across from Michael's, the restaurant, for $350,000. And I put $700,000 into that building, painted the outside, paved around it. And then I got enrolled into this program. And that investment, so far I've spent $4 million of my own money in it, and I borrowed $2.5 million from a bank to make this business go. When I started, I had 3 employees, and then when we started this abatement program, I think we had 18 or 20. We now have 55 employees. I'm hopeful I can get over 100 in the next year or so, but you know how the RV industry is, and you know how business is locally. But part of the problem of the 2-year window is you could order capital equipment, you can pay the money down, but because of COVID, because of supply chains, because of everything's out there, you don't get the equipment. And it doesn't count in your program until you get it installed. And like, for example, I spent probably $700,000 on a new mixer that got installed over the 4th of July. Well, I ordered that in October of last year, and it just, things don't happen like we all think they should. You order it, you think you get it in a month, you install, it takes a month or 2 to install it, and it's all good and ready to go. But that's not how, at least my business operates. These pieces of equipment are special equipment, and it takes a while for them to make it. And, our country's still screwed up in terms of supply chain and getting particularly pieces of equipment. So it's not easy to make that 2-year window. I get what you're saying, but 2 years is a hard time to formulate a business plan, particularly when you're growing. I've gone from losing money. Last year I did make money, but when you start a business, you lose money the first couple of years, and I've made a lot of investments in the local Elkhart community of my own money, and we're benefited, and I think I'm going to get over 100 employees in the very near future. But I'm not qualified for this plan because even though I spent $1 million on a building, all right, I had already spent that before I knew about this program, first of all, and was enrolled in it. So that doesn't count for this particular thing. So that's why I didn't qualify. So I'd ask you to think about this 2-year window. It's not easy to get.
Questions? Sir, would you like to take some questions?
Sure.
Mr. Hinkie.
The first part is, and we have precedent, because of supply chain, and I think it was, trying to think of the company's name, but it was Mr. Four, and he had one. It took 5 years, first time ever produced in the world, and it was produced overseas, and it took it a while to get here. But the way around that is he showed us the purchase
Yeah, I could do that.
paperwork.
Yeah.
And it does not have to be in operation. It does not have to be installed. It just needs to be on site. And we have had
Well,
where.
getting it on site is kind of an issue too,
Well, and we have had where people showed us their purchase agreements and money transfer, and we have accepted that.
Okay.
But it also is down to what the SB1 would say, and that's the critical piece, because that is the legal document of the state of Indiana. Without that, it doesn't really matter what we think and what story comes with it. We have to have an SB1 that matches. Our exception is we have had people order their equipment. We've had them drop it off. We've had, like I said, with Mr. Four, we had a purchase agreement. He showed it to us. We certified it. And that worked as a substitution. We just have to have something.
Well, I didn't know that, but anyway.
So whether you can work out with either of these two gentlemen that you would email them some document, some proof of purchase, even though it may have not made its way here, but the document would have to be, number one, the dates of the document would have to be critical, number one. Number two, they would have to match your SB1.
I mean, I have
Okay.
pro forma statements and wire transfers and all that.
Mr. Huber, do you want to, did you want to? Okay.
Because
So,
without that,
so
there's not
David, what's your suggestion is tabling this until, because we can't, if you get the information that you're asking for, we can revisit it at another time. I don't know if there's a timeline, John, that this needs to be done. Hold on.
seems as though we either we table or we do a tentative motion, and if we don't get it within the timeline, we
Yeah,
dissolve it.
I don't like
What
the,
do you
I don't
think, John?
like the tentative motion. Either we're going to table it or we're going to vote on it, not the tentative. John, I'm sorry, Mr. Esper.
The answer is, do you have the authority, with what I have interpreted to be a request for an extension of, to revisit and continue these proceedings to another date? You should set that date certain, and I don't think there's anything in the law that prevents you from doing it with the consent of the taxpayer. And
Very
that's
good.
what I'm,
What's our timeline?
Yeah,
What's our deadline?
well, your deadline is, in the absence of an agreement, 30 days.
I mean, but for
From-
tax purposes to the county, what is our deadline to get this concluded?
That,
Was 45 days from.
How far out are we?
45
if
days
was
from,
to have this hearing,
No, for.
All right, so we've got time, it sounds like.
that's right. That's right, I forgot about that.
okay, so we do have time, so it's going to be incumbent upon you, sir, to get that required request, that information that the council would like to have to Mr. Huber, so we can then reconsider this. But at this time, we're going to table it.
I could add a little bit more information, sorry. So in speaking with Mr. Giovannini just now, and I think we had this conversation internally and with him prior, his SB1, as you noted, Councilman Hinkie, his SB1 indicated $2 million of investment in the personal property. With all of his purchase of equipment that's now delivered and installed, he's still below the $2 million threshold, which is part of the reason why we're bringing this
Okay, so it
forward this
doesn't
way.
change
So,
anything.
that's correct.
Okay, so it doesn't change anything. He hasn't made but 50% of needed investment.
Right. Correct. Okay.
So I'm sorry, but I would have to stay with the original motion.
Your motion forward to adopt this resolution. So know how you're voting now.
I'm sorry?
Know how you're voting. It was made in a positive, so the motion is to approve this
Yeah.
resolution.
So off of the docket, I move that
We already have a motion, don't we?
oh, sorry?
We have a motion and a second. We had the public hearing, now we're going to do a roll call.
To be clear, David, what we're voting on is the termination of the Economic Revitalization Act.
Right. But
So
the motion that you have right now is what?
Angie, read the motion back, please.
we just had a motion to
Motion is
adopt the
to adopt
resolution.
this resolution. That's all that has to be done tonight. There's no special motions that need to be made. We're just adopting or
Yeah.
we're just approving or not approving these resolutions tonight, just like a normal council meeting. That's all these are. There's no special.
All right, so someone needs to make a motion and a second to adopt. Okay, and then
We
the
already-
vote is
we already
what?
did
We
that.
already did.
Yep.
All right, so stay ahead of me, will you?
Why don't you stay with us?
Angie, would you do a roll call vote to adopt this resolution?
The motion is to terminate
Yes,
the ERA
yes.
and
And a negative vote terminates.
Positive vote.
Positive
positive
terminate.
vote terminates.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir. Angie, would you do before that, would you read the resolution title?
Affirmative.
Oh, yeah, just listen to the title and it'll explain it. Would you read that again?
On to stay awake.
A resolution of the Common Council of the City of Elkhart, Indiana, determining that Big Dog Adhesives LLC, 435 Properties LLC, and 615 Properties LLC failed to make reasonable efforts to comply with its statement of benefits, warranting the termination of the economic revitalization area and corresponding tax abatement benefits.
Got it? All right. Mr. Curry?
yeah, I agree that they haven't met the standards that we were hoping to see, but also in the past, I know we've made exceptions when there were circumstances that was beyond the business control and found them in substantial compliance. And, he's come here and told us what the facts are and what the future is. I just think we ought to go ahead and give them a little grace this time and go ahead and approve it.
Thank you. Okay, Angie, do a roll call vote, please.
I mean,
Councilman
otherwise, why are
Holtz.
we meeting
No.
at all?
Councilman Curry,
No.
Councilwoman King,
No.
Councilman Mishler,
Yes?
Councilwoman Hines.
Councilman Hines? Turner, is that a yes?
Please
You gotta unmute yourself.
Unmute yourself.
Okay, point of parliamentarian order, real quick here. To be clear, a no vote is saying that you believe that they are in compliance. Yes. Okay.
God's sakes.
Tonda, are you voting yes? I can't, I see you read lips, I see it.
We
but I
can't
gotta-
count your vote until we hear you.
Push your speaker button, unmute.
Write it on paper and hold it up.
You can hear us.
I can read her lips, but I don't think that counts. Yeah. If she writes it on paper, I hope it does.
Jim, can you unmute her from down there?
Brent, I was thinking the same thing you.
Can you hold the space bar and talk? Sorry, we can't hear you.
All right, sir, we can hear you now. What's your vote?
Yes.
All right. Mr. Crabtree?
NASA?
Yes.
Mr. Hanky?
Aye.
I'm sorry. Aye.
5-3.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5-3, it passes.
All right. Now, Tonda, you want us to talk through LaTanya's phone? Hold on, she's gonna call you back.
Brent Curry, I'm worried about you.
Gotta,
Why
have
are
her say
we
something, have her
meeting
say
at all?
something. First say something so we can hear it. All right, stay there. All right. Angie, would you read proposed resolution 24-R-36 by title?
Proposed Resolution 24-R-36, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Elkhart, Indiana, determining that FF U.S. Acquisitions Corporation, DBA Tuscany Motor Company, TLMTG Properties LLC, failed to make reasonable efforts to comply with its statement of benefits, warranting the termination of the economic revitalization area and corresponding tax abatement benefits.
Thank you. Can I get a motion and a second?
Second.
Got a motion
One
by
of
Mr.
those.
Hinkie, second by Mr. Crabtree. Council discussion. Drew?
I just want to be very clear, this is only for personal property. Tuscany was ruled in compliance for real property.
All right, so, okay. Thank you. The representative? Not a representative. Turn it back to the council floor. Council, oh, wait a minute. Is there anyone in the public? I guess I was asked for a representative, but nobody from the public. Return to the council discussion. Seeing none. Mr. Curry?
I think we had a great presentation from Tuscany and how well this company is doing here in Elkhart and how they restructured their pay scale and how their employees are making real good living wage money. And I just think we ought to work with this company too.
Mr. Hinkie?
You're killing me, Brent. We just went from 95% to 90%. Now you want to do 50%.
You missed you wasn't at the meeting when they came here and did a
what
presentation.
point do you
You
look
would
out-
be in favor of this. I
For the-
know you would.
No, I know Mike Graber personally, and I still have an obligation as an elected official to follow the rules. And that is, I'm sorry, Mr. Graber, but you didn't fulfill, he is aware of it, by the way. He's not here purposefully. He's already communicated to these guys. It is what it is. So to find him in compliance when he's expecting a non-compliance, I don't know at what
Would
point.
be a surprise.
Oh, jeez.
This,
I'm glad you're not a police
this
officer.
thank you, Mr. Hinkie. Thank you. And I agree with you.
Shut
So,
up. What? I'm changing
Let the
my
record
vote.
show the president agreed with Mr.
I
Hinkie.
agree with you. Drew, we're fine.
Oh, okay, okay.
Angie, do a roll call vote, please.
Councilman Holtz.
Yes.
Councilman Curry.
No.
Councilwoman King.
Yes.
Councilman Mishler. Councilwoman Hines.
Turn your phone on, Latanya. Hold on.
Okay, Tanda.
Say it
Say it
again.
one more time. Yes.
Councilman Crabtree.
Yes.
Councilman Hanky. President Dawson.
Aye.
Passes
8-1.
7-1.
7-1. All right, would you please read proposed resolution 24-R-37 by title?
Proposed resolution 24-R-37, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Elkhart, Indiana, terminating by agreement the Economic Revitalization Area and Memorandum of Agreement between the City of Elkhart and Trimlock, Inc., 5400 Beck Drive, Elkhart, LLC, for which no tax abatement benefits have been awarded or will be claimed.
Move to approve.
Got a motion by Mr. Crabtree, second by Mr. Mishler. Open up for council discussion. Seeing none, open it up to the public. Anyone in the public here wants to speak? Seeing none, return it back to the council. Any more council discussion? Seeing none. Angie, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Councilman Holtz.
Yes.
Councilman Curry.
Yes.
Councilwoman King.
Yes.
Councilman Mishler.
Aye.
Councilwoman Hines.
Sorry. Okay, Tanda. Yes.
Councilman Crabtree.
Yes.
Councilman Hanky. President Dawson.
Aye.
Passes 8-0.
Thank you. Would you please read proposed resolution 24-R-38 by title?
Proposed resolution 24-R-38, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Elkhart, Indiana, determining that CTS Corporation failed to make reasonable efforts to comply with its statement of benefits, warranting the termination of the Economic Revitalization Area and corresponding tax abatement benefits.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Crabtree, second by Mr. Hinkie. Council discussion. Seeing none, open it up to the public. Seeing none in the public, we turn it back to the council. No discussion. Angie, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Councilman Holtz.
Yes.
Councilman Curry.
Yes.
Councilwoman King.
Yes.
Councilman Mishler.
Aye.
Councilwoman Hines. Councilman Crabtree.
Yes.
Councilman Hanky. President Dawson.
Aye.
Passes 8-0.
Thank you. Would you please read proposed resolution 24-R-39 by title?
Proposed resolution 24-R-39, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Elkhart, Indiana, determining that Champion Manufacturing, Inc., CR17 Land Development, LLC, failed to make reasonable efforts to comply with its statement of benefits, warranting the termination of the Economic Revitalization Area and corresponding tax abatement benefits.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Crabtree, second by Mr. Hinkie. Council discussion. Seeing none, open up to the public. Anyone in the public would like to speak? Seeing none, return it back to the council. Any council discussion? Seeing none, Angie, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Councilman Holtz.
Yes.
Councilman Curry.
Yes.
Councilwoman King.
Yes.
Councilman Mishler.
Aye.
Councilwoman Hines.
Go ahead, Tanda. I'm sorry.
Councilman Crabtree.
Yes.
Councilman Hanky. President Dawson.
Aye.
Passes 8-0.
Thank you. Would you please read proposed resolution 24-R-40 by title, please?
Proposed resolution 24-R-40, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Elkhart, Indiana, terminating by agreement the economic revitalization area and memoranda of agreement between the City of Elkhart and Americana Development, Inc., DBA Dexstar Wheel, for which no tax abatement benefits will be claimed.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Crabtree, second by Mr. Hinkie. Council discussion. Seeing none, we'll open up to the public. Is there anyone in the public? Seeing none, turn to the council for council discussion. Seeing none. Andrew, to your roll call vote, please.
Councilman Holtz.
Aye.
Councilman Curry.
Yes.
Councilwoman King.
Yes.
Councilman Mishler.
Aye.
Councilwoman Hines. Councilman Crabtree.
Yes.
Councilman Hanky. President Dawson.
Aye.
Passes 8-0.
Thank you. Can I get a motion for adjournment, please?
So move.
Got a motion by Mr. Crabtree, second by Mr. Curry. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.